Heredity and Evolution. Learning about evolution. Evolution.
An illustration. Consider a group of 12 red beetles, insect, living in some bushes with green leaves. Their population will grow by sexual reproduction and therefore can generate variations. You observe that birds eat these beetles. The more beetles the birds eat, the fewer beetles are available to reproduce. Now, let us think about some different situations that can develop in this beetle population. In the first situation, a color variation arises during reproduction so that there is one beetle that is green in color instead of red. This beetle, moreover, can pass the color to its progeny so that all its progeny beetles are green. Birds cannot see green-colored beetles on the green leaves of the bushes and therefore cannot eat them. The progeny of green beetles is not eaten, while the progeny of red beetles continues to be eaten. As a result, there are more and more green beetles than red ones in the beetle population. In the second situation, again a beetle that is blue in color arises during reproduction. This beetle can also pass the color on to its progeny, so that all its progeny beetles are blue. Birds can see blue-colored beetles in the green leaves of the bushes, as well as they can see the red ones, and therefore can eat them. In the population, as it expands, there are a few blue beetles, but most are red. But at this point, an elephant comes by and stamps on the bushes where the beetles live. This kills most of the beetles. By chance, the few beetles that have survived are mostly blue. The beetle population slowly expands again, but now the beetles in the population are mostly blue. So, we see that the frequency of an inherited trait changed over generations. Since genes controlled traits, we can say that the frequency of certain genes in a population changed over generations. This is the essence of the idea of evolution. In the third situation, as the beetle population begins to expand, the bushes start suffering from a plant disease. The amount of leaf material for the beetle is reduced. The beetles are poorly nourished. As a result, the average weight of adult beetles decreases from what it used to be when leaves were plentiful. But there is no genetic change occurring. After a few years and a few beetle generations of such scarcity, the plant disease is eliminated. There is a lot of leaf food. At this time, the beetles would once again return to their normal size.
Evolution.
Some of the important sources which provide evidences for evolution are homologous organs, analogous organs, and fossils. There are many organs in different groups of animals or plants which all seem to be built from the same basic design but are used for many different purposes. These are called homologous organs.
For example, the forelimbs of a human, lizard that is reptile, a frog, amphibian, a bird, and a bat, mammal,
seem to be built from the same basic design of bones, but they perform different functions. There are many organs in different groups of animals which seem to be built from different basic structure, but appear to be similar in shape and perform similar functions. These are called analogous organs. The insects have a fold of membranes and wings which are associated with few muscles, whereas a skeleton, flesh, and feathers support birds' wings, but they perform the same function of flying. The analogous organs actually provide a mechanism for evolution. Fossils provide evidence for evolution. The remains or impressions of dead animals or plants that lived in the remote past are known as fossils. The fossils proved evidence for
evolution.
A fossil bird called Archaeopteryx has feathered wings like those of birds but teeth and tail like those of reptiles. It is therefore a connecting link between the reptiles and the birds, proving that the birds have evolved from the reptiles. Usually, when organisms, plants or animals die, their bodies will decompose by the action of microorganisms in the presence of oxygen, moisture, etc. Sometimes, however, the conditions in the environment are such, like absence of oxygen or moisture, etc., which do not let the body of the organism to decompose completely. For example, if a dead leaf gets caught in mud, it will not decompose quickly. The mud around the leaf will set around it as a mold, gradually harden to form a rock and retain the impression of the whole leaf. This forms a leaf fossil, which can be dug out from the earth a long time later. The fossil of a dead insect caught in mud is also formed in a similar way to leaf fossil. All such preserved impressions of the body parts of the once living organisms are called fossils. Let us study Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection by taking an example. No two animals are ever exactly alike. So, some changes always appear when animals produce their progeny by sexual reproduction. For example, one of the progeny may be tall, having long legs, than the other progeny. Thus, there may be a variation of height in the progeny. Now, the advantage of long legs to the progeny is that when no food, grass, etc. is available on the ground, then this progeny having long legs can reach the leaves of tall trees, eat them as food, and survive. On the other hand, the progeny which have short height due to short legs cannot reach the leaves of the tall trees. They will not get any food, and they will starve and hence die. Thus, nature has selected the animals with long legs to survive because it is the fittest animal under these circumstances. Summary: evolutionary relationships are traced in classification of organisms. Tracing common ancestors back in time leads us to the idea that at some point of time, non-living material must have given rise to life.
Evolution
Can be worked out by the study of not just living species, but also fossils. That is all in this topic, students. Let us now study about speciation in our next topic.